Sometimes 3D printed fantasy objects also serve a purpose. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs and the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly vlog. This is vlog number 377 for Monday, September the 23rd, 2024, and I am uptight. Very uptight. I had a very stressful weekend, which you're going to hear about, but we talked a little bit about that yesterday on Stephen and Walter Live, and I have a stressful morning anyways because I have an appointment. And guess where I'm going? Yes, what gives you the most stress? Well, at least for me, going to the dentist. I'd almost rather go to the doctor than go to the dentist, but I do, and more on that later on. But right now, let's look at things that bring me joy. Excuse me, and I hope they bring you joy as well. And just let me get it here. Here is the quilt I have been working on. It's a sew along with Stephanie of Stephanie Stitches, and this is her Cozy Star quilt pattern. I have it all together. The top is all done, and I think it turned out gorgeous. I put it on Lucy on Friday. I got it all quilted, and that's where things went awry. Now, what you're seeing here in this picture is the quilt top itself pieced together, but not yet quilted. Well, the quilting turned out okay on the front. On the back, there are some tension issues. They're not major, but they're there, and I know they're there. And yeah, I had thought in the back of my head that this quilt, because I love the design, I think I did a really good job of the piecing. I was really thinking that this might be a quilt I would enter into the Brooklyn Spring Fair. Brooklyn is a little place, just actually so close to us. It's just maybe 5 kilometers away. It's part of the next major town next to us, and they have a spring fair every year on the first weekend of June. I did not know until very recently that they have quilts on display and being judged. So I was thinking, I've never entered a quilt show really before. Not one that's, well, I entered one in the guild I belonged into a few years ago, but that's the only one. And there aren't a lot of opportunities around in this area for entering quilts into a quilt show. So I thought this one might be a good candidate, but not with the quilting. Not the tension on the back. As I said, it's not major, but it would be too much for a judge. Judges would look at it and just disqualify it. So I may do a different quilt and enter it instead, if I do at all. I'm not really sure if I'm going to enter a quilt into the show, because I took a look at their requirements from the past year, and oh my God, I'd have to read them again. But I think I read a section in there that said they want you to include swatches of your fabric. Have you ever heard of that? I have never come across that before for, anything that I've read about quilt shows. Maybe this is something common and I didn't know it. But I don't know. It just sets a tone off. And quite frankly, I think the judges that are there, well, look, let's face it. Judges at a quilt show anyways have a bit of an attitude that they are special people. Maybe not all of them have that attitude, but some do. I don't know. I'm rambling now. I don't know what I'm going to do. All I know is I'm going to bind this, then I'll put it in the washing machine, and it'll be fine. Now, the next one that I've got to get onto Lucy is this one. Yes, I know. Very, very busy. Like you go, ooh, okay. This was a palette cleanser. It is not a pattern. I just sort of made it up as I went along. Yeah, that's pretty apparent. But I had all this gnome Christmas fabric. I had gnome charm packs, and I had gnome strip packs, and I had gnome layer cakes. And I thought I need to do something to, try and get back my sojo, because lately I have been feeling very, well, I'll be just honest about it. I've been very depressed, and I don't know why, and I don't usually get depressed. But maybe it's the change of seasons. I mean, we are into fall now, and I know that sometimes, the changes in the seasons can do that to people. I don't know. I'm trying to get my sojo back. And some of you gave me suggestions because I mentioned it last week, and you gave me suggestions for how to do this. So, yeah. But anyways, this one I threw together. I'll talk more about it on the Idiot Quilter tomorrow. This is just a little preview. In fact, I probably said too much about the first quilt. I should have saved that for tomorrow. But I will have more to say about it too when it comes to the tension problems. Okay, this little guy, lots of fun to do. This is Dracula. He is fairly large. He's about 24 inches from thumb to thumb. And he is all done in the hoop. And I'll talk about this tomorrow because this is a little bit different in the hoop project because you actually sew the pieces together in the hoop. So tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter, we'll talk about that. Then let me get the right buttons here. I changed all my buttons around on my little stream deck that I have off to the side, and I'm sitting here looking and going, which one do I hit now? That was all part of my anxiety and stress that I'm going to talk about shortly. But first, let's talk about the YouTube channel of the week. Now, you know that on my vlogs, I like to talk about 3D printing, and I am going to talk about that. But for any of you that have been thinking about getting into 3D printing, there are some basic tools that you need. And if you're just toying with the idea and you're thinking about buying yourself a inexpensive 3D printer, a starter one, there are some tools you'll want to invest in as well, but you may not want to spend a lot of money on those tools. So this particular YouTube clip talks about buying things from Temu at rock bottom prices that'll set you up. This week's video clip puts two of my favorite things together, 3D printing and Temu. And in this particular video called Amazing Temu Finds for 3D Printing Essential Accessories, the creator of this video goes over a whole bunch of basic tools that someone should have when they first get into 3D printing. And all of these are very affordable on Temu. So he reviews each of the items. Now, do you need everything he suggests? Well, yeah, pretty much, I think. In some cases, maybe not, but it depends on what you do with the 3D prints in post-production. But if you're just getting new into 3D printing and you don't want to spend a lot of money until you're sure you're going to enjoy this hobby, then you'll want to check out this video to find out exactly what you will need at a very reasonable price. So the link for that clip is in the show notes. There's also a link for all of my friends' YouTube channels. There is a link for Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen that happens every Wednesday starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And all are welcome. Come and go as you please. It is a Zoom. It is not recorded. It's not a YouTube live. And get caught up on some projects and enjoy yourself that day. Okay, and of course there are links for all my videos that I put up last week, and there is a special link for the video I made telling you everything you need to know about the Idiot Quilter Fall 2024 retreat. So if you haven't seen that yet and you're interested in the retreat, it's free. You must see that video because it explains all the ins and outs and how you get registered. Okay, so that takes me to what things are looking like outside. We are now officially in fall. And here's what it's looking like outside my door at about 6 o'clock a.m. this morning. You can see it was dark still because the days are, excuse me, getting shorter. Kind of nice, the glow that's coming out of the window behind the Rose of Sharon bush there. That's actually light coming from this room that I'm sitting in. And I don't know what kind of day it's going to be. I didn't really check. Yeah, it's 17 right now, and it's only going to a high of 22, so I actually have long pants on today. I'm wearing jeans. Yeah. Now, actually, this is still not cold enough for me to be in long pants, but because I'm going to the dentist, I thought, I better put on some decent clothes. I don't know why, but yeah, I'm doing that. So, anyways, it looks like it could be going to be a nice day. And according to my watch, it says, any rain? Nope, no rain today. And the rest of the week looks like it's going to be fairly pleasant as well. Comfortable early fall weather. Okay, so let us go to, sorry about this, I can't find my buttons. There's my button. I may have to rearrange those in a more logical order. Okay, so let's talk about what's pissing me off this week. What a weekend. Okay, you know that we ordered new iPhones, new iWatches, right? And those arrived on Friday. So we got them all set up. They take some setting up. And we are shipping back our old iPhones to Apple because they are giving us a credit for them. And it's a substantial credit. It's about $600. Now, we buy our phones outright, so yeah, they cost. So between the watch and the phone, it was a little over $3,000. Okay, big chunk of change. That would have bought a lot of fabric. But when it comes to Apple products and that, well, basically, I love them. Well, I thought I did. So I get the new watch and the new phone all set up, all going fine, not a problem. And it took quite a while to transfer my data and everything from my old phone to the new phone. Now, they make it really easy. However, the connection was extremely slow. Walter had said it took him about 50 minutes to do his. He did it, of course, while I was sleeping because, you know, Walter, he's like Dracula. He's up late at night and into the wee mornings. And so he said it took about 50 minutes. Yeah, okay, I expected that. However, mine came up and said 10 hours. I said, what? I thought, well, the one problem I find with Apple when they have their little countdown timers that come up, they are always inaccurate. They say like it's going to take 30 minutes, it takes 15 or something like that. So I figured, yeah, it'll catch up itself. It won't be 10 hours. No, I was wrong. It did lower it, but it was still like at about 7 hours, 8 hours, and it was taking forever. 4 hours into it, it still said it had about 6 hours to go. And I'm thinking, what's the matter? You're supposed to be hooked up to the Wi-Fi and everything like that. Well, I said to Walter, what's going on? Why is mine taking so long? I checked the speed of our internet connection, of our Wi-Fi. Everything was fine where it should be. Well, I don't know, but I decided to cut my losses and stop the transfer and restart. But this time I made sure that the phones were connecting to the Wi-Fi. So I did. And it still looked the same as before, but for some reason, it was a heck of a lot faster. Not sure why. Anyways, got them all set up, ready to go. Now, because we're sending back the old ones, they sent us a special mailer, and they had instructions for this. And the instructions said the first thing you do is to turn off Find My iOS device, and it listed the watch, your phone, and your MacBook if you have that. And it put it all in one sentence. Now, Walter argues with me on this, but I am an ex-English teacher, and when you put the word and into a sentence, to me it means inclusive. All of these things. And I have a MacBook and a watch and a phone. So I went in. To me, the word off meant delete. There was my first mistake. So, not a problem with the watch and the old phone, the old watch and the old phone. Those wiped out completely. That was great. That's what you're supposed to do. You know, you didn't want any of your data on any of those devices. So but I come to the phone and it says to turn off your iOS devices. So one of them that hadn't been turned off in Find My Devices was what I'm looking at right now, my MacBook. So I hit the button. It immediately wiped out my MacBook. It was in seconds. I looked away from the phone. I looked up at the screen that I'm looking at right now, and it's black. And it's talking about reactivating. And I went, Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. What have I done? I was beside myself. My life is on my MacBook. Okay, I cannot live without my MacBook. Now you're going to say, well, didn't you have a backup? Yes and no. I think I have a better understanding now after this disaster today about backups on iCloud. But I don't know, in my mind, see, I still come from an old mind of how to use a Windows computer. You know, I mean, those are what I used for many, 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 many years. I'm thinking, you know, I don't want my stuff on the cloud. I want my stuff on my computer. Why? Because my philosophy is if the internet went down, I could still use my computer. If I'm dependent upon all my stuff coming off of the cloud, if the internet goes down, I can't get it and work with it. That's what's going through my head. Now, I know those of you that are much more tech savvy, I know you're looking at the screen and you're going, you're an idiot. And that I am. So here I am sitting at a computer, basically pulling my hair out. What do I do? So I thought, okay, it says restore. Let's give that a try. So I did. It gave me options. One was to have a startup disk. A startup disk? This is a Mac. No one uses disks anymore. There isn't a CD-ROM or a DVD player attached to it or any slots for it. There's no slots for disks. What's that all about? A startup disk? Then it said reinstall the operating system, and it had Sonoma. Well, Sonoma was the operating system I was using, but I had just recently upgraded to the latest one, which is Sequoia or something. Sequoia, whatever. They name them after trees or areas. I don't know, whatever. But that's the only choice I have. And then there were two other choices that just weren't choices, as far as I was concerned. So I didn't know what to do. What I'm really afraid of is that it has wiped out my data. Now, before I go on further, you're going to say, well, why is there such a button? Well, if your laptop was stolen, you could remotely wipe it out. So the thief would not be able to get into your personal data or anything like that. Yeah, it's a good safeguard. What they need to do is when you push that button, there's two buttons, one on top of the other. One says, erase this computer, and the other one says, delete this computer. And this is under Find My Computer. Erase, delete, erase, delete. I don't know. I just hit the first one. I wasn't really thinking about the difference. There should have been a little thing come up and saying, you're about to wipe out your computer and this will give you all kinds of grief and your life will be hell. Do you want to do this? But it didn't. It just, boop, that was it. So, in my opinion, that is a flawed design because I know I'm not the only idiot out there when it comes to technology. And I don't really consider myself an idiot with technology. I've used it for years. I still use it. I'm constantly learning. But the Mac environment, the Apple environment, it's its own ecosystem. And if you are a Windows user and you have been for many, many years, and I'd heard people say this before I got a Mac, you're about to enter a whole new world of absolute hell. It's a different dimension completely. And they are right. So, back to this story. There I am. What do I do? Well, there is a 1-800 number. Now, we all know 1-800 numbers. You're going to go through a whole lot of pain with one of those. You're going to be pushing buttons until the cows come home before you ever get near to talking to a human being. And if you do, you'll be sitting on hold for days. I wasn't looking forward to that, but I was at my wit's end. Oh, you wouldn't have believed what came out of my mouth. I can't describe what I turned into. Ask Walter. He'll know. He was very supportive through this whole process. Well, you're an idiot, he says. Well, you shouldn't have done that. Why'd you do that? That was dumb. Not what you want to hear at that moment in time. Yes, it was all true, but you don't want to hear it. So I called the number. I did go through a few button pushes, and then it said, okay, it actually talked to me, said, tell me what your problem is. I said, my computer is wiped out from all time. I want to go to hell. Um, and they said, we can help you with that. And they said, we'll connect you to technical support. And I thought, here's where I wait. No. I was on hold for only maybe 10, 15 seconds, and I got a real human being, a lovely lady by the name of Latoya. Shout out to Latoya. Um, you know, when people are faced with a technological disaster, they are not the nicest people in the world. And I am sure Latoya and all the other people that work on those helplines have had their fair share of people calling them every name in the book. And they're still pleasant. So Latoya came on, and I said to Latoya, okay, this is what's happened. Now, unlike Walter, she didn't say, you're an idiot. What she said was, I know what you did. She said, not unusual. In other words, she's had this kind of call before. She says, I can help you with that. No worries. Oh, Latoya, you are a goddess. So she told me what to do. And essentially what I had to do was go into that restore that I just mentioned and hit the operating system to reload it. I said, great, I can do that. But what Latoya did was she asked permission to take control of my camera on my phone. Now, in another situation, this could be scary. Okay, but right then I'm desperate. I'm going to give her the sun, the moon, and the stars if it's going to solve my problem. And so she connected to my phone, came up and said, do you accept? I said, yes. And she just had me hold the phone, the camera, in front of my computer screen so she could see what's going on. I thought, whoa, this is cool. So she told me what to do. Basically, was reinstall the operating system. Well, it came up. Remember I told you about the little time bar, the countdown that Apple gives you? So the bar came up and said, this will take 3 hours, approximately 3 hours and 32 minutes. I said to Latoya, well, I don't imagine you want to sit here on with control of my phone and wait for this for 3 hours or so. And she kind of laughed. She says, not really. And I said, that's okay. I just have one question, Latoya. I said, will my data reappear? She says, you should be able to get all your data back. And I suspected that had something to do with the cloud. And I'm thinking, did my system back up to the cloud? I wasn't really sure of that. I know I'm an idiot. So anyway, she says, if you have any problems with that, you call us back. You have a case number now. She gave me the case number. You just give them that number. They'll know what we're working at. It's all there, and they will be able to help you. So don't worry. I was still worried, but Latoya was very calm, soothing voice. Okay. And as I said, Latoya is a goddess to me. And I said to her, do I just call the 1-800 number? Is there a direct line? And she says, no, just call that number and we'll look after you. I said, okay, thank you, Latoya. You have a nice day. She said, you have a nice day too. Bye-bye. So there's my computer working away. It didn't really take 3 hours. It took more or less about an hour, about a third of the time, which was good. But I'm still panicking. Will I have my data? And when it came back up, I did sort of. It was on the cloud. But as I said, I wanted it also on my hard drive. So I was trying to figure out how to do that. And this is where I learned a lot about how Apple thinks. And they don't think like any other human being on the face of the planet. Not in my opinion anyways. Especially when you come to a Mac with a Windows mind. Okay, with a Microsoft mind. Anyways, I spent the majority of Saturday and into Saturday night and the wee hours of Sunday morning. I got up early. I couldn't sleep. I could not sleep. I took a gummy. Because when things like this happen to me, everything goes whipping around in my mind. So I got up early Sunday morning, like about 4:30, And I had left the computer doing something over the night, and it sort of said that it did it, and it did. And I had access to my files and everything like that. Then I had to reinstall some apps that were gone, but that wasn't that major of a difficulty. Um, Most of the apps that are on my Mac are ones that came with the Mac, so they were reinstalled with the new operating system. Long story short, just before we went to air yesterday on Stephen Walter Live, I had everything back up and running. Now, there may be a few little minor tweaks I will have to do as time goes by, because I'll remember, oh yeah, I used to have that or whatever. It was a learning experience. What did I learn? Don't push buttons. Read, think, select, then push. Okay? Because it was just that easy to wipe out my life. I feel better today. I will feel better later today after I come back from the dentist and get that out of my hair. And then maybe I can start concentrating on what I really want to do, which is to sew. Okay, so lesson learned. I'm an idiot. All right, moving on to the grow lights. Nothing. They're empty. We haven't done anything. The garden's dead. Yep, it's fall. So, yep, as soon as we do something there, we do have a good crop of lettuce coming. The lettuce seems to like the colder weather, the cooler weather. So we've got to eat that up. And I think there may still be a pepper or two out there, and we're getting some stray tomatoes, But at this point in the year, if the squirrels haven't got them, we're bringing them in, but they're looking getting a little nasty. Yeah, there. It's sad to say, it's over. It is fall. Okay, so new products. Well, I did tell you, you already know the new product is simply this, and it is the iPhones. And I'll just show you here very briefly. Oh, well, no, maybe I won't, because I just wiped it out. Let's see if I can find it. Undo. I'm an idiot. That didn't work. Well, anyways, you know what an Apple phone. I don't need to show you pictures of what I got there. There's my watch. And there's my phone. Yeah, looks very much the same as, you've seen them before, right? But I do love them. And even though I had my little horrendous situation with Apple, which was my fault, I do love how they integrate. All the Mac products all talk to each other, and that's really cool. And I love that feature. That's probably the thing I like the most about them all. And now there's a new feature where on my Mac computer screen, I can connect to my phone and actually see what's on the screens of my phone, which is kind of cool, but I'm not sure why I'd want to do that. But anyways, they're full of little gimmicks. You will never use everything that these things can do, and when you start to watch videos about what they do, it boggles my mind. So right now, it's on a need-to-know basis. If I think in my head, I wonder if one of my Mac products could do that, then I'll look into it. Okay, so yeah, that was new. And I took a chance and I ordered a new build plate for one of my 3D printers from Temu. And it came this weekend. It's fine. It looks exactly, and it's an original manufactured build plate from from Creality, the company that makes my 3D printers. And yeah, so the next time I need one, I'm going to order it from Temu. Yes, I had to wait about a week as opposed to Amazon, but it was not a whole lot cheaper. But I wasn't finding on Amazon exactly what I wanted for some reason. They were there before, they're not now. So, yeah, I may order one more as a spare. I like to keep them in the back. I mean, these are not an expensive piece for your 3D printer no matter where you get them. But they can be as much as $30 a piece. On Temu, I think it was $19.99. On Amazon, I think they're about $26.99. I'm talking Canadian prices. So, yeah, another score with Temu. I have never been disappointed with anything that I've ordered from Temu. I will tell you that right now. I am sure there is disappointment out there to be had. But yeah, now many people have many reasons for why they don't want to order from Temu, because of their Chinese connection. Well, everything has a Chinese connection. Um, or afraid they're going to get knockoffs and stuff like that. And I'm sure there are there too. But as I said, for me, it's working. So yeah, I don't tend to order regularly from them, but every now and then. And that was an every now and then purchase that I just made, and it's fine. Okay, so speaking of 3D printing, I'm coming to the can I print this effing thing? Something called Alice's Furniture. And I'm going to show you what this looks like. And I better put the cap on my water bottle because disaster, computer, water bottle. I don't need that. So let me just see here if I can find the picture of this very unusual creation. Again, my icons are all over the place. And all right, where is it? Okay, just bear with me for a second. I can't find. Oh, I'm an idiot. I really am. Oh, good gravy. Where the heck? I must have wiped it out. Give me a sec. Okay, here we go. This is called Alice's Furniture. I actually had to pay for this. There's a series of them. They're different shapes. They remind me of the Dr. Seuss, the books or the furniture in Whoville kind of a thing. But I thought it was kind of a bit of a challenge to see if I could actually print this because there's a lot of, angles here. So you do need some supports in that. And the drawers do open and close. And I'll show you here. In this picture, you see I've got some of them open, and it's not a bad size. This one they called the medium-sized one. I could have made, I don't think my printers would have handled the larger one. They're not big enough. But just something kind of unusual. So actually, I'm using it. I'm keeping my spare nozzles and some other small spare parts for my 3D printers in the little drawers. And it's kind of fun. It's to look at. It's whimsical. And the best part was, yes, I could print it. So that's kind of cool as well. So, and it didn't cost me that much to buy the files. It came from 3D Cults. I think it was like $3, something like that, Canadian. So, I mean, really, yeah. And as I said, there are more designs that are included, different sizes, different shapes than this as well. So you can set up your own little Whoville house with all these little drawer sets or whatever. It's just fun. But it did show me what the capabilities are of my printers further for that. Okay, so let me go back here. There I am. Another thing about 3D printing is I like to make things to give to people. Giveaways. When I'm going to something like retreats or classes or special events, I like to make little things to give away. And because I think they're kind of different, they're unique, and they're just fun, and they're just part of my printing kind of thing. So I made a little video clip here to show you about what I'm talking about, 3D print giveaways. I like to make things for people. And a lot of the times when I'm going to, say, a sewing retreat or some other special event where there's going to be a number of people gathered together, I like to give them something just a little extra, just a little token of appreciation if it's a presentation or something like that to them. And so here's an example of the sort of thing I'm talking about. I've made these little gnomes, and I bought from Temu a set of folding scissors. And I intend to give these away when I go to a retreat next year that I'm actually teaching at to all the participants. And I will attach my business card as well to this little item. So I think it's kind of cute. It's something a little special. People like freebies they love giveaways at things. So your 3D printer is really great for making those kind of things. This is another item that I made. It's basically a keychain, but it's for a quilter. It's got a quilt pattern in the grid, something a little different. And on the back of that, I did attach my business card as well. Now, the one to the far right, the maple leaf, this is a combination of using my 3D printer and my embroidery machine to make a little keychain that has a Canadian theme. It's a Canadian maple leaf, as you can see, done as a freestanding lace embroidery pattern, and 3D printed maple leaf that says Canada. And I'm making these in different colors, and I think they'll be kind of neat to give to a group that I am going to be going to in the next couple of months. But there's all kinds of little giveaway items that don't take long to make, are not expensive to make, and are somewhat unique that you could give to friends as gifts or give them to people that you might come into contact with. Great way for, if you have a small business, for attaching your business card as something just a little unique as well. So yeah, 3D printers can do that. So that takes me to a blast from the past, and this is one of these old videos from about 13 years ago, and it was in around the time I was doing one of my first workshops in the paper crafting world at my local scrapbook store, and I was teaching how to do create with layered stencil backgrounds. This was, for creating your own backgrounds for scrapbook pages or in art journaling books and things like that. So here's the younger but older version of Stephen doing a different type of craft.
Hi, it's Stephen from Class Act, and today on our video tutorial I'm going to show you how to do stenciled backgrounds for our scrapbook layout. These stenciled backgrounds are very adaptable for any color scheme, any theme, any collection of pictures. And we're going to also make custom frames using the same technique. So stay tuned. Okay, so here's our layout, the completed layout. And as you can see, the background paper on both sides has all been done using stencils, some inks, and a background stamp. So I'll just zoom in here so you can get a little closer look at this page and then show you what I'm talking about. If you look very carefully up in this area, you can see different patterns made by the stencils. And you can also see that very closely here if I zoom in. You notice here, what I've done for this tag is that I've also created a stenciled background using different stencils than I did from this background. But I've kept the color scheme all the same. And what I did was I picked 3 colors from the pictures that I have here and use those as the only colors that I'm working with. More than 3 colors and your overall background might get a little muddy. The colors that I chose to use are Stormy Sky in a Distress ink, Wild Honey, and Festive Berries. Those are the only 3 colors I'm using. Now I'm using the Distress inks by Tim Holtz, but that doesn't mean you have to. You can use any ink that you have laying around, just as long as you're picking 3 colors that are predominant in your pictures. I also am using ink applicators, these ones, to apply the ink through the stencil, and I'll show you that technique in a minute. But again, you could use a finger dauber or a larger ink dauber. You could also use a makeup sponge, whatever you happen to have laying around. And I'm also using some stencils, and I've picked 3 or 4 stencils that I like and that suggest some texture to the paper and maybe go along with my theme. You can see that these 4 different stencils that I'm going to use in this presentation are all very different from each other, but we're going to be layering them on top of one another, and that really creates the overall effect. Also, we're using a background stamp, and this one is just a series of lines, but you could use almost anything. And check out the selection of collage stamps that Carol has in the store, because they will work very well for this technique. So let's go on with what you need to do. Your materials for this technique are very simple. All you need is a 12 by 12 sheet of plain white cardstock, like I have here. And you pick your first stencil, and you're going to pick your first color. Now the first color should be the lightest color, and you should arrange your colors from lightest to darkest. It's easier to layer over top of lighter colors than it is to layer over top of darker colors. So my first color I'm going to use is the yellow, the Wild Honey, and you want to get your ink really juicy and get your pad, your applicator, especially if it's a brand new one, well covered in ink. Now you can put your stencil anywhere you want. I don't suggest, though, going right to the center. Start off to maybe one corner and go off the page. And all you do is hold down that stencil firmly and pounce. Pounce. You can rub a little. Depends on the intensity. And we're not interested here in putting down a really heavy layer of color. Because, oops, I moved the stencil. And if you move the stencil, that doesn't matter because you're going to be layering over top of it. So you're not really making a mistake. So we'll get some more color on here, and I think I'll throw one. Don't be afraid to change your stencils around either, to put them on an angle. They don't have to go straight up and down. They don't even have to go upside right. You can put them any way you wish. And you don't have to do the whole stencil. You can just do partial areas if you wish. Because on this first layer, we're just interested in getting the ink down. Okay, that looks pretty good. Maybe we'll put a couple in here, put a couple in here, put a couple in here. Okay, one more there. So that was my first stencil. Now you can see the colors, there's darker to lighter. That just happened, and I'm not worried about that. So now I'm going to go to my second stencil, and really it's up to you how you pick your stencils. I tend to go from the ones that have a really definite pattern to the ones that are more a background stencil. So here's one with another definite pattern. So I think I'll start it up here. And this time I'm going to go into my red, which is Festive Berry. And the same technique. Just pounce it on. Don't worry if you don't cover the whole thing. Just put it down in another area. It's kind of fun to do this. And you'll never come up with the same thing twice. So if I was to try to duplicate this, well, I might be able to, but because the ink is going to vary in its shades and in how much I put on, you're not going to get the same effect. But that's okay, because remember, this is background. A lot of this will not be seen once your pictures are on the page. Okay, so that's my red. And now let's go to my blue. And for this, I'm using some variated circles. So again, don't have to cover the whole stencil. Randomly put it wherever you like. Turn it this way. And let's see, we'll go here, some in the middle, some down here. At this point, we're on our third layer, so you want to get rid of some of the white space, more of it. So look for the areas where you don't have some stenciling and try to kind of fill it in. We'll go over here, a couple up here, and you'll notice I am not covering the whole stencil. I'm just randomly selecting sections of it, laying it down. I'm not really thinking about this, and this is the thing too. Oftentimes we stare at the blank page and we get a creative block. Let's call it a creative block. This way, you don't really need to care. It's going to turn out no matter what you do. Okay, I think my coverage is pretty good right now. And so, now that's looking pretty good. The next one, now this is something, if you don't have a background stamp, you might have a background stencil. This is sort of a background stencil. As you can see, it's just random lines and little tears and rips. And I've already used my 3 colors. I could go back and use one of those colors again, but I think for this, I'm just going to stick to good old black. Now I'm going to do this sparingly and more subtle. So I'm just putting it on as I did before. And you notice you may not even be able to see it at first. But when you really look at the page, and we'll take a look at it in a minute, you will see that these lines are actually there. And they're adding some depth to our overall page. Again, I'm really not being too concerned about where I lay these down. And as I said, I'm using the black because I've used the other three colors, and I'm just using this sort of as almost a shadow effect. It's kind of in the background. Okay, give it one more shot right in here. So there we go. So before we put on our background stamp, let's just take a look at this. I'm going to zoom in a bit. So you see the texture, you see the color, you can see a little bit of those lines that I just put in. All of that is there, and didn't take us long, and I think the overall effect is quite neat. Now, just to add a little bit more dimension to it, we're going to use our background stamp. And as I said, this could be anything that pleases you. I'm using this particular one. It's just some random squiggly lines. And again, let me get my acrylic pad. And I'm going to just use black. Now you could use one of your other colors, but because I'm using this as a more subtle overlay, I'm not too concerned about the color that I use, but the black gives it a shadow effect. So stamp it, and don't be afraid to cross it over on lines. Let's see, I'll do one up here. What I'm doing with this particular rubber stamp is I think it makes kind of a nice little semi-border treatment. So I'm putting it up in two of the corners. And I think I'm going to leave that just as it is. So there's my overall page. It's done now. Now, if I look at this and I think that it needs more, I can do that. It might be a little too light for my pictures, so I might want to use one of the darker colors and make it more prominent on it. But either way, this is my background paper. Now, what you're going to do in the workshop is you're going to create 5 of these. 2 of these are going to be your background sheets for the overall layout, and the other 3 you're going to cut to use as photo mats. And you have the instructions in your package how to do that, and you've seen the example. And just let me pull the example back again for you. Here it is. And so if you look here, the mats, and I'll just do a close-up. You see right here, this mat is basically one of these backgrounds cut. And I did a double mat using black on the very background just to make it pop from the page. Same way, when I made the tags, I'll just pull out a bit so you can see this better. When I made the tags, I used my background paper that I created, and this did use one of Carol's stamps. This is a butterfly collage stamp. I really like it, but I used the same colors. I didn't change the colors, and I did do some stenciling on this, but this particular piece, when I cut it out, you really can't see the stencil marks as clearly as you can on the background papers. But that's all there is to it.
So events of the past week, well, I think I've already talked about them between, doing stuff with the quilting and that, and then of course my day and a half of hell, actually 2 days of hell with Apple. So those are behind me. What's coming up? The dentist appointment. Now, I hate dentists. I have a phobia about them. It stems from when I was a kid, the first time I was ever taken to a dentist. There was no freezing involved, there were lots of fillings involved, and there was lots of pain involved, as I remember. And that comes up into me to this day, going to the dentist. Now I'm going for a cleaning. And I'm going to have a little talk with my dental hygienist. First of all, I don't like her. She's brutal. She's rough. I mean, she's a pleasant enough person and everything like that, but I just don't like her. She's got instruments of torture in her hand. So, right then and there. That puts us on a whole different kind of playing field, you know. She's the torturer and I'm the torchee. Also, she's filled with advice all the time. Now, I'm very conscientious about my teeth. Okay? Both my parents had bad teeth. I mean, I never wanted to see my mother smile because it was a horror story. Just scared the living Jesus out of me. So, I've always been very cautious. I brush after every meal, faithfully. Not only do I brush, I water pick. I floss. I floss in the morning, I floss in the evening. So I'm very conscientious about it. But it never never ceases to amaze me that when I get there and I get in the chair and she's in there doing her scraping and pounding with her picks and everything like that, looking for gold. I'm not going to find any. You know, what more can I do? She's put me on a schedule where I come in. I used to come in once a year, years ago. Then I came in every 9 months because my insurance said I could come in every 9 months. So I thought, okay, I'll do every 9 months. According to my dental hygienist who looked at her computer and says, you could come in every 4 months. Your insurance will cover that. Now, when I say I have insurance, my insurance covers about 85% of most dental procedures, the common ones. I have to pay 15%, but I have to pay the dentist up front. Not that that's a problem, really. It's just an annoyance. And I get my money back, my 85% of it back, pretty quick. Direct deposit to the bank. It usually comes within 24 hours or less. So, yeah. And they're very efficient at my dentist office. I mean, they're slick. I will say this is slick, how they do business. Well, part of the slickness is the dental hygienist telling me this. And I said, well, yeah, but my insurance. Oh no, your insurance will cover that. That's not a problem. You have so many units and you can use that, and you haven't used them all. She was almost giddy with the prospect of using up the insurance money. So I agreed. Because, she says, well, you're getting older. Your gums are sort of receding. We got to keep an eye on that. Yeah. Could you not say one cheerful word like your smile is bright? You haven't lost any teeth since last time I saw you. Something, no, it's always doom and gloom on the horizon. And I've told her how I do my teeth. And I do, after I come back from one of those cleanings, I'm even more vigilant. I spend half my life in a bathroom brushing my teeth. So this is pissing me off. I've had it. I'm taking back control. When I go in there today and she does her cleaning, I'm also expecting that she's going to look at it. Oh, we haven't had x-rays in a while. We should do x-rays. Ka-ching, ka-ching. That's about 200. And then, of course, the dentist herself will want to come in and take a little look for about 3 minutes and see if everything's okay. Ka-ching, ka-ching. I mean, yes, I need to have professionals do this kind of stuff. But I guess what I'm questioning is the extent. So I'm going to say to the butcher today, when she's making my appointment, oh yeah, that right there. They make a lot of things go on behind your head. Have you ever noticed that in a dentist's office? It's like being in a church. In a church, you're never supposed to turn around and look to the back. You'll turn to stone. Well, it's kind of like that in a dentist's office. They have a little computer back there. They're all behind your head. I don't even know what she looks like. If I had to describe the dental hygienist in a police lineup, I wouldn't be able to pick her out. Because one, she's wearing a mask to start with. Two, she's behind my head. She's only in the peripheral of my vision most of the time. I don't know what she's doing back there. And quite frankly, I don't want to see the instruments of torture either that she's got all laid out on her little tray. So she's going to say, okay, well, let's see, 4 months, and we'll do it. And I'm going to say, not doing 4 months. And I'm going to get this look like, oh my God, shocking. Why would you not do that? I'm going to say, I'm going to go to 6 months for now. And I'm going to tell her, because I'm not seeing any difference. You're still taking as long as ever to clean my teeth, in spite of the fact of what I already do with this. And if I have to, I don't know if I have to go there with this conversation and say, basically, this is a money grab through my insurance company. I have insurance, but I pay for that insurance. It's not just given to me. So either way, I'm paying for this. And it's pricey. And I'm on a pension. So I'm sure she's going to give me grief, but my mouth, my teeth, my life, my decision on that. And I looked it up on internet to see how often should you go. Of course, the Canadian Dental Society and the one in the States, whatever the equivalent is telling you, yeah, well, they recommend every 6 months. But they're dentists. Of course, they recommend every 6 months or even more frequently on theirs, depending on the state of your health, of your gum health. So I don't know, but I'm not looking forward to this. I keep looking at my watch because my appointment's at 9. It's like a countdown to the execution chamber. It gives me a lot of stress. So anyways, that's what I have to look forward to today. This coming weekend, there is a what they call Country Roads Shop Hop. 4 stores in the area. Some of them, a couple of them are kind of a little farther away, are doing this. We went last year. There weren't any bargains to be had in any of them. All 4 of them, except with the exception of the one that looked like a shack. It was called the Fabric Shack, I think. And it does. It looks like a little hole in the wall. And it kind of is. But it's a little rabbit's warren. And there are a lot of little treasures in that place at fairly good prices, especially backing fabric. I have been back since. It's a little bit of a ways from where we live. You know, it's about, I think it's almost close to an hour drive. But yeah, did get some bargains there. But the other places, nice to visit. One of them is one I go to all the time, Quilter Quilting. Love Quilter Quilting in terms of the store, the selection, the customer service. Do not love their prices. They are on the upper end of the scale, especially on wide backs. But, you know, it's a thing to do. But I don't know if we're going to do it because there's a home show on in Toronto, and Walter loves home shows. But we often say when we go to a home show, why? Because it's just basically advertising for windows and doors. Lots of windows and doors. But I don't know whether we'll do that or not. You know, the other thing is we could take the GO train into that like we did before, and we can go someplace and have lunch or dinner or, you know, travel uptown. I don't know. We'll see. Or Walter was saying maybe we should just go off to those 2 stores that we never go to, except at Shop Hop, and just take another look around or something. If the day is nice, it's a nice little outing out into the country sort of a thing in the fall. Trees haven't started to turn much here yet, but it's still a little early. But yeah, so we'll see. That's coming up. And of course, what else is coming up very soon is the Idiot Quilter 2024 virtual retreat. It's on October the 19th, Saturday, October 19th, but registration starts on Saturday, October the 5th, 2 weeks away. At 9 a.m. in the morning, I will start to accept registrations. It's a free event, but you need to register. And all that information is in the little video and in that I've already talked about. So the link's below. So do click on that and to find out what's going on and how you register if you're interested. It does fill up fairly quickly. So just saying. I have 95 spots, okay, available. Okay, so I think that's it. It is. This was a long one, I think, because I rambled on too much about my problems with technology. So I got to get myself psyched up here for the dentist. Tell you about that next week. Okay, have a great week. See you tomorrow on Idiot Quilter, maybe, and later in the week for So Chatty, and then Stephen Walter Live on Sunday. Bye for now.